All right, in today's video, I was going to talk a little bit about the mind and some of the things that go on during meditation and just, an overall, maybe even some of the health factors too, like some of the things that it does to the body. So, kind of like it has an effect on both the mind and body because I know over the years it's helped me focus more and concentrate where before I used to take ADD medication, so I still am a little bit ADD, but I'm able to focus more and actually concentrate more than I used to in the past. I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk or like formulate thoughts in a conscious pattern to talk about things without meditating because in the past I needed the medication to do it to help me focus where now still if I was to take the medication it would help me focus even more because it's just part of what the medication does, but at least I'm able to now focus and concentrate and do stuff more than I was before I started meditating. So and it also helps you get that single pointedness where you can focus in on something instead of being distracted all the time. It still happens from time to time, but I'm able to kind of focus in the moment when I'm doing stuff and be more present. So, and then awareness. The second, the first one was focus and concentration. The second one's awareness and mindfulness. Uh, you just become more aware of what's going on in your head. And I always preach you need to know where you're at, what's going on, some of your thoughts, your limiting beliefs, your limiting ideas, some of the limiting thoughts that we have that may not be true. Because we all have thoughts, and the mind always likes to play games and make you think that something's going on that's not, or make you feel in certain ways that may or may not even be true. So I feel like meditation helps lower that, you know, monkey mind they call it, where your thoughts go everywhere and everything goes everywhere, and so it just helps you become more aware of what's going on in your head. Because I always got to think, you got to know where you're at. You got to know what some of the things that are going on in here that are stopping you from doing stuff. Like I know that some of my thoughts, like I always say, I always get, should I do it? Can I do it? What's going on? I feel like we all have those limiting beliefs that we have been around, maybe society, maybe experiences in our life, our parents, our peers, like, that not everybody's always positive about everything. Not everybody's going to always agree with everything that you want to do. Somebody's so and I know from personal experience, when I bring up ideas to other people, and then I would let them dissuade my idea. Like I would have this great idea. Like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to go. I'm going to do this class. I'm going to teach this. I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And then everybody, a lot of people are doing it. But again, so I would let people, like, I'd let those negative thoughts change my mind. So again, you gotta do what's in your heart. You gotta do what's in your mind. You gotta do what's in your soul, regardless of what anybody tells you or you know what anybody thinks you should be doing. It's your life. It's your uh, purpose. It's your let's go. So and I think I'm not doing a very good job of being concentrated today. I'm kind of just going with it. So bear with me. Uh, so again, another thing is like relaxation and calmness, and it does. Trust me, when I'm like really like wound up or upset or having a hard time, meditation seems to relax me and help me calm down and like refocus. Like sometimes I'll be stressed out about stuff that's happening in the world, and sometimes in my everyday life, and then I'll meditate and it'll be like, wow, it really wasn't that big of a deal. So I feel like instead of it being like everywhere, your mind's going crazy, it's going in 800 different directions at one time. What if this happens? What if that happens? There's so many things in your mind that go on sometimes. And I feel like meditation kind of brings you back into that focus and concentration, the awareness of what's going on, and it helps create relaxation and calmness so you can pay attention to what's going on and observe the thoughts that are going on in your head and be like, hey, maybe maybe it's not as bad as the mind tries to create. It always tries to create a mental picture of something that's way worse. And what if that ever even happens? I know I've worried about stuff in the past where all of a sudden I'm like, why did I even worry about that? And sometimes we worry about things that may or may not even happen. So I found when I started to meditate, it would, you know, slow that down a little bit and help me concentrate more. Because again, a lot of the things we see in life, or things that happen in our life, are a perspective of it. You can like, if you look at things, and sometimes at work there's a hard customer on the phone, and they're like, everybody's like, oh, they shouldn't be this way, and I'm always like, well, they are that way, so why don't you just kind of handle it with kindness and peace, and just spoon feed them what they need to know, because they don't always know. That's why they're calling you. You got to help them find the way to get to where it is that, or get the things done. And instead of being upset about it, just, handle it. But that's just you know, a thought about it. But like, and again, just because, like I said, just because we have those thoughts doesn't mean they're real. And sometimes we just not need to observe them and then just let them go, and let them float off into the ether, and realize that, hey, that thought just doesn't serve me. Because, like I was saying, our perspective and the way that we see things, it kind of reminds me like the Force in Star Wars, when Obi-Wan says it depends on your point of view, like how you see things. Like, two people can see an event in two different ways. I can look at it as a reason or an opportunity for growth and learning how to deal with customers better, and someone else is looking at it as the customer should change to make their life easier. So, which one's going to be, which, it depends on which one you want to focus on and which one you believe. And sometimes it's hard because we've been around, certain beliefs for so long that they kind of ingrain in our body. And that's kind of like one of the other things they talk about that helps. It's that neuroplasticity. and that's what happens over time. The more you meditate, it actually, your brain structure and function starts to change. It, like I was saying earlier, it lights up different areas of your brain that help with, attention, emotional regulation, and empathy. And then it helps change the neural pathways in your brain too. Like, I feel like that's the thing. You got to know where you're at, and like some of those patterns that we develop over time can be changed if we meditate. It's just that most of the time, we don't meditate. I feel like they get ingrained into our unconscious, and they're just there. And because they've been so programmed into your brain, that over time you just don't even realize that they're still there. And then you behave from them, or you act from them, without even realizing that's why you're doing it. It could have been something that you saw in your childhood, or happened to you in your childhood, that created that, pathway, or that uh, structure in your brain, and you don't even realize what's happening. So meditation helps bring you past that, back into the unconscious mind, to help let some of those things bubble up to the surface so you can remember them and be like, wow, like, I've had experience in my life. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot all about this. And then I'm able to like bring it to the forefront and be like, wow, I'm still acting because of something that happened 20 years ago. And you're like, whoa, I never thought of that, but you buried it in your unconscious, and you're not conscious of it. So sometimes your conscious mind takes its information from the unconscious mind, and then you act out of that. And with meditation over the years, I've realized that I've changed a lot of patterns in myself and my behavior. I'm not as stressed out as I used to be. I'm not as reactive as I used to be. I'm a human being, so yes, I still get reactive from time to time, but it, like, nowhere near what it used to be. I'm able to catch myself sometimes in the moment and be like, wow, what are you doing? It's like that awareness. It's that emotional regulation of, okay, I need to calm down. Where before I'd explode and then have to be like, oh my God, and I'd realize it, after the fact. But now it's like becoming more aware of in that moment of how to do that. And I feel like meditation helps you do that. Like I remember I read a study somewhere where they had a monk and they like were able to take like not like really hot test tubes, but hot enough to where if you touch them, you'd like move your arm, and he wouldn't move at all. And then I think there was a study too where they actually shot a gun off in the room, and he didn't even move. So it gets you so single pointed focused. Now again, a monk is at a different level than most people, but I've noticed like where before if someone like pops a bag and you're like, oh my God, and you jump, where now it's sometimes people will do that to me and I'll just be like, and it's like, did I scare you? And it's like, no, you really didn't. I mean, it's weird. It's strange. It's like stuff like that. I don't react as easy. So I feel like that's another benefit of just being more peaceful, calm, centered, getting some of that mental clutter out and not having so many like thoughts that overtake my mind or overtake my mood. Now, again, like I said, we're all human, so it's not always, nothing's 100%. It's not going to work 100% of the time, but it will make it easier and it will make you more aware in certain situations and help you respond instead of react. Because sometimes, reactions happen so fast. There's so much going on in the world these days. It's so difficult at the time right now. And sometimes, when you get triggered and stuff, you just react. And this will help you, relax into the moment, get rid of that mental clutter, relax, calm, focus, awareness, like all those things. And then help you create better patterns, better structure, and just it makes you a little bit better. And I know physiologically too, I've realized that meditation also helps lower stress hormone release. It helps the fight or flight response. Where you're in that, like we're talking about the reactive fight or flight. It helps you get into that moment and realize that hey, I can respond instead of be fight or flight. And then other things too, it lowers your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure. So it just does a lot of more things, and it promotes a sense of well-being. So all these things are beneficial for the mind and the body. So it's definitely, if something that you're thinking about doing, it's definitely worth it creating a practice. So just wanted to explain some of that stuff to you guys. Like and subscribe. I just want to keep getting this information out there because I believe it's beneficial. And yeah, so that's my message for the day. Bye bye.